the Cybrarian Presents, a serialization of Robert E. Howard's Conan, the Phoenix on the Sword. Disclaimer. The following is intended for a mature audience and may contain references to violence, sex, and language that may offend. Chapter 1. Know, O Prince, that between the years when the oceans drank Atlantis and the gleaming cities, and the years of the rise of the sons of Arius, there was an age undreamed of, when shining kingdoms lay spread across the world like blue mantles beneath the stars. Nemedia, Ophir, Brithunia, Hyboria, Zamora with its dark-haired women and towers of spider-haunted mystery, Zingara with its chivalry, Koth that bordered on the pastoral lands of Shem, Stygia with its shadow-guarded tombs, Hyrcania, whose riders wore steel and silk and gold. But proudest kingdom of the world was Aquilonia, reigning supreme in the dreaming west. Hither came Conan, the Cimmerian, black-haired, sullen-eyed, sword in hand, a thief, a reaver, a slayer, with gigantic melancholies and gigantic mirth, to tread the jeweled thrones of the earth under his sandaled feet. Over shadowy spires and gleaming towers lay the ghostly darkness and silence that runs before dawn. Into a dim alley, one of a veritable labyrinth of mysterious winding ways, 4 masked figures came hurriedly from a door which a dusky hand furtively opened. They spoke not, but went swiftly into the gloom, cloaks wrapped close about them. As silently as the ghosts of murdered men, they disappeared in the darkness. Behind them, a sardonic countenance was framed in the partly open door. A pair of evil eyes glinted malevolently in the gloom. "Go into the night, creatures of the night," a voice mocked. "O fools, your doom hounds your heels like a blind dog, and you know it not." The speaker closed the door and bolted it, and then turned and went up the corridor, candle in hand. He was a somber giant, whose dusky skin revealed his Stygian blood. He came into an inner chamber, where a tall, lean man in worn velvet lounged like a great lazy cat on a silken couch, sipping wine from a huge golden goblet. "Well, Ascalante," said the Stygian, setting down the candle, "your dupes have slunk into the streets like rats from their burrows. You work with strange tools." "Tools," replied Ascalante. "Why, they consider me that. For months now, ever since the rebel force summoned me from the southern deserts, I have been living in the very heart of my enemies, hiding by day in this obscure house, skulking through dark alleys and darker corridors at night. I have accomplished what those rebellious nobles could not, working through them and through other agents, many of whom have never seen my face. I have honeycombed the empire with sedition and unrest. In short, I, working in the shadows, have paved the downfall of the king who sits throned in the sun. By Mitra, I was a statesman before I was an outlaw. And these dupes who deem themselves your masters, they will continue to think that I serve them until our present task is complete. Who are they to match wits with Ascalante? Volmana, the dwarfish count of Caravan. Grommel, the giant commander of the Black Legion. Dion, the fat baron of Atulus. Rinaldo, the harebrained minstrel. I am the force which has welded together the steel in each, and by the clay in each, I will crush them when the time comes. But that lies in the future. Tonight, the king dies." "Days ago, I saw the imperial squadrons ride from the city," said the Stygian, "thanks to the strong liquor which I've smuggled over the border to madden them. Dion's great wealth made that possible, and Volmana made it possible to dispose of the rest of the imperial troops which remained in the city. Through his princely kin in Nemedia, It was easy to persuade King Numan to request the presence of Count Trocero of Poitain, Seneschal of Acolonia. And of course, to do him honor, he'll be accompanied by an imperial escort, as well as his own troops, and Prospero, King Conan's right-hand man. That leaves only the king's personal bodyguard in the city beside the Black Legion. Through Cromwell, I've corrupted a spendthrift officer of that guard, and bribed him to lead his men away from the king's door at midnight. Then, when 16 desperate rogues of mine, we enter the palace by secret tunnel. After the deed is done, even if the people do not rise to welcome us, Cromwell's Black Legion will be sufficient to hold the city and the crown. And Dion thinks the crown will be given to him? Yes, that fat fool claims it for reason of trace of royal blood. Conan makes a bad mistake in letting men live who still boast descent from the old dynasty, from which he tore the crown of Aquilonia. Vulmana wishes to be reinstated in royal favor as he was under the old regime, so that he may lift his poverty-ridden estates to their former grandeur. Cromwell hates Palantides, commander of the Black Dragons, and desires the command of the whole army with all the stubbornness of the Bossonian. Alone of us all, Rinaldo has no personal ambition. He sees in Conan a red-handed, rough-footed barbarian who came out of the north to plunder a civilized land. He idealizes the king whom Conan killed to get the crown, remembering only that he occasionally patronized the arts, and forgetting the evils of his reign, and he is making the people forget. Already they openly sing the Lament for the King, in which Rinaldo lauds the sainted villain and denounces Conan as that black-hearted savage from the abyss. Conan laughs, but the people snarl. Why does he hate Conan? Poets always hate those in power. To them, perfection is just behind the last corner or beyond the next. They escape the present in dreams of the past and future. Rinaldo is a flaming torch of idealism, rising, as he thinks, to overthrow a tyrant and liberate the people. As for me, well, a few months ago I had lost all ambition but to raid the caravans for the rest of my life. Now old dreams stir. Conan will die. Dion will mount the throne, then he too will die. One by one all who oppose me will die, by fire or steel, or those deadly wines you know so well how to brew. Ascalante, king of Aquilonia. How like you the sound of it? The Stygian shrugged his broad shoulders. There was a time, he said with unconcealed bitterness, when I too had my ambitions, beside which yours seemed tawdry and childish. To what a state I have fallen! My old-time peers and rivals would stare indeed, could they see Toth Amon of the Ring, serving as a slave of an outlander, and an outlaw at that, and aiding in petty ambitions of barons and kings. You laid your trust in magic and mummery, answered Ascalante carelessly. I trust my wits and my sword. Wits and swords are as straws against the wisdom of the darkness, growled the Stygian, his dark eyes flickering with menacing lights and shadows. Had I not lost the ring, our positions might be reversed. Nevertheless, answered the outlaw impatiently, you wear the stripes of my whip on your back, and are likely to continue to wear them. Be not so sure. The fiendish hatred of the Stygian glinted for an instant redly in his eyes. Some day, somehow, I will find the ring again, and when I do, by the serpent fangs of Set you shall pay. The hot-tempered Aquilonian started up and struck him heavily across the mouth. Thoth reeled back, blood starting from his lips. You grow overbold, dog, growled the outlaw. Have a care. I am still your master who knows your dark secret. Go upon the housetops and shout that Ascalante is in the city plotting against the king if you dare. I dare not, muttered the Stygian, wiping the blood from his lips. No, you dare not, Ascalante grinned bleakly, for if I die by your stealth or treachery, a hermit priest in the southern desert will know of it, and will break the seal of a manuscript I left in his hands. And having read, a word will be whispered in Stygia, and the wind would creep up from the south by midnight. And where will you hide your head, Toth Ammon?" The slave shuddered, and his dusky face went ashen. "Enough!" Ascalante changed his tone peremptorily. "I have work for you. I do not trust Dion. I bade him ride to his country estate and remain there until the work tonight is done. The fat fool could never conceal his nervousness before the king today. Ride after him, and if you do not overtake him on the road, proceed to his estate and remain with him until we send for him. Do not let him out of your sight. He is mazed with fear and might even rush to Conan in a panic and reveal the whole plot, hoping thus to save his own hide. Go." The slave bowed, hiding the hate in his eyes, and did as he was bidden. Ascalante turned again to his wine. Over the jeweled spires was rising the dawn crimson as blood. Chapter 2. Excerpt from The Road of Kings. "When I was a fighting man, the kettle drums they beat. The people scattered gold dust before my horse's feet. But now I am a great king, the people hound my track, with poison in my wine cup and daggers at my back." The room was large and ornate, with rich tapestries on the polished panel walls, deep rugs on the ivory floor, and with the lofty ceiling adorned with intricate carvings and silver scrollwork. Beside an ivory, gold-inlaid writing table sat a man whose broad shoulders and sun-browned skin seemed out of place among those luxuriant surroundings. He seemed more a part of the sun and the winds and the high places of the outlands. His slightest movement spoke of steel-sprung muscles knit to the keen brain with the coordination of a born fighting man. There was nothing deliberate or measured about his actions. Either he was perfectly at rest, still as a bronze statue, or else he was in motion, not with the jerky quickness of over-tense nerves, but with a cat-like speed that blurred the sight which tried to follow him. His garments were of rich fabric, but simply made. He wore no ring or ornaments, and his square-cut black mane was confined merely by a cloth of silver band about his head. Now he laid down the golden stylus with which he had been laboriously scrawling on waxed papyrus, rested his chin on his fist, and fixed his smouldering blue eyes enviously on the man who stood before him. This person was occupied in his own affairs at the moment, for he was taking up the laces of his gold-chased armour and abstractly whistling, a rather unconventional performance considering that he was in the presence of a king. "Prospero," said the man at the table, "these matters of statecraft weary me as all the fighting I have done never did." "All part of the game, Conan," answered the dark-haired Poitanian. "You are king, you must play the part." "I wish I might ride with you to Numidia," said Conan enviously. "It seems ages since I had a horse between my knees, but Publius says that affairs in the city require my presence. Curse him. When I overthrew the old dynasty," he continued, speaking with the easy familiarity which existed only between the Poitanian and himself, "it was easy enough, though it seemed bitter hard at the time. Looking back now over the wild path I've followed, all those days of toil, intrigue, slaughter, and tribulation seem like a dream. I did not dream far enough, Prospero. When King Nemedides lay dead at my feet and I tore the crown from his gory head and set it on my own, I had reached the ultimate border of my dreams. I had prepared myself to take the crown, but not to hold it. In the old free days, all I wanted was a sharp sword and straight path to my enemies. Now no paths are straight, and my sword is useless. When I overthrew Numidides, then I was a liberator. Now they spit at my shadow. They have put a statue of that swine in the temple of Mitra, and people go and wail before it, hailing it as the holy effigy of a saintly monarch who is done to death by a red-handed barbarian. When I led her armies to victory as a mercenary, Aquilonia overlooked the fact I was a foreigner, but now she could not forgive me. Now in Mitra's temple they come to burn incense to Numidides' memory. Men whom his hangman maimed and blinded, men whose sons died in his dungeons, whose wives and daughters were dragged into his seraglio, these fickle fools. "Rinaldo is largely responsible," answered Prospero. drawing up his sword belt another notch. "He sings songs that will make men mad. Hang him in his jester's garb to the highest tower in the city. Let him make rhymes for the vultures." Conan shook his head. "No, Prospero, he's beyond my reach. A great poet is greater than any king. His songs are mightier than my scepter, for he has near ripped the heart from my breast when he chose to sing for me. I shall die and be forgotten, but Ronaldo's songs will live forever." "No, Prospero," the king continued, a somber look of doubt shadowing in his eyes. "There is something hidden, some undercurrent of which we are not aware. I sense it as in my youth I sensed the tiger hidden in the tall grass. There is a nameless unrest throughout the kingdom. I am like a hunter who crouches by a small fire amidst the forest, and hears stealthy feet padding in the darkness, and almost sees the glimmer of burning eyes. If I could but come to grips with something tangible, that I could cleave with my sword. I tell you, it's not by chance that the Picts have of late so fiercely assailed the frontiers, so that the Bessonians have called for aid to beat them back. I should have ridden with the troops." "Publius feared a plot to trap and slay you beyond the frontier," replied Prospero, smoothing his silk surcoat over his shining mail and admiring his tall, lithe figure in a silver mirror. "That's why I urge you to remain in the city. These doubts are born of your barbaric instincts. Let the people snarl. Their mercenaries are ours, and the Black Dragons, and every rogue in Poitain swears by you. Your only danger is assassination, and that is impossible, with men of the Imperial troops guarding you day and night. What are you working at there?" "A map," Conan answered with pride. "The maps of the court show well the countries to the south, east, and west, but in the north they are vague and faulty. I am adding the northern lands myself. Here's Cimmeria, where I was born, and Asgard and Vanaheim." Prospero scanned the map. "By Mitra, I'd almost believe those countries to have been fabulous." Conan grinned savagely, involuntarily touching the scars on his dark face. "You had known otherwise, had you spent your youth on the northern frontiers of Cimmeria. Asgard lies to the north and Vanaheim to the northwest of Cimmeria, and there is continual war along the borders." "What manner of men are these northern folk?" asked Prospero. "Tall and fair and blue-eyed. Their god is Ymir, the frost giant, and each tribe has its own king. They are wayward and fierce. They fight all day and drink ale and roar their wild songs all night." "Then I think you are like them," laughed Prospero. "You laugh greatly, drink deep, and bellow good songs, though I never saw another Cimmerian who drank aught but water, or who ever laughed, or ever sang save to chant dismal dirges." "Perhaps it's the land they live in," answered the king. "A gloomier land never was, all of hills, darkly wooded, under skies nearly always grey, with winds moaning drearily down the valleys." "Little wonder men grow moody there," quoth Prospero with a shrug of his shoulders, thinking of the smiling, sun-washed plains and blue, lazy rivers of Poitain, Aquilonia's southernmost province. "They have no hope here or hereafter," answered Conan. "Their gods are Crom and his dark race, who rule over a sunless place of everlasting mist, which is the world of the dead. Mitra, the ways of the Aesir were more to my liking." "Well," grinned Prospero, "the dark hills of Cimmeria are far behind you, and now I go. I'll quaff a goblet of white Nemedian wine for you at Numa's court." "Good," grunted the king, "but kiss Numa's dancing girls for yourself only, lest you involve the states." His gusty laughter followed Prospero out of the chamber. Thank you for listening to Robert E. Howard's Conan, the Phoenix on the Sword, presented by the Cybrarian, music by Solar Flare. For the continuation of these adventures, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.